Welcome to a new AMA series with Kadena Ecosystem. Kadena Minutes is going to be a conversation with Kadena team members. In this episode, we have Randy Daal, Development Experience Lead for Kadena. This conversation was recorded live on Twitter Spaces January 18th, 2023. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of Kadena Ecosystem directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to follow our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to a new AMA series here at Kadena Ecosystem that we are calling Kadena Minutes. These AMAs are going to be focused on talking directly with Kadena team members. Today we have Randy Daal, who is the Development Experience Lead. He is the main dog in charge of all the devs over there at Kadena, making sure that they're all working hard and providing some really awesome things for our community. So welcome, Randy. Why don't we just start with a quick little introduction about yourself, and I like to and what you do at Kadena, and then I also like to learn about how you got involved in crypto in general, because I find some people really have some cool stories. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you for the cool intro, by the way. That's really nice. My name is Randy. Like you said, I'm the developer experience lead at Kadena. Well, how I got started in crypto, to be honest, my career in blockchain was never on my roadmap. So previously I was a front-end developer. I actually even had my own company at one point in time. But I missed the coding part a lot during that time. And at a certain moment in time, I think it was last year, not last year, 2 years ago, Will reached out to me and we talked about all the challenges at Kadena. And that really triggered my curiosity. And after the initial talk and a couple of more talks with Anastasia, Stuart, and Doc, they convinced me to take upon this challenge to fix the developer experience. And to be honest, the challenge it is. So what I do day to day is I do quite a lot of different things. Of course, the first thing I had to do at Kadena is build a team of developers who can actually build something to make it easier for developers to build on our blockchain. And starting the team in the beginning was a challenge as well. But looking at my team I have at the moment, I'm very proud of what we accomplished so far. The team is now 12 developers big, and we are filling up all kinds of assets. So we have the front-end developers, we have the engineers. We now have a brand developer who can help us with the UX, where I'm going to talk about that maybe later on as well. So that's basically what I'm doing at the moment, working together with my team, building awesome stuff on our blockchain.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so much that's involved with building a blockchain and so many different projects and things that I'm sure you guys have been working really hard on. Let's just go through a couple of them really to begin with. And one of the main ones that you've been pushing really hard on getting going is the Kadena JS JavaScript stuff. Let's talk a little bit about why that's important and what exactly it is that you guys have been working on in that aspect.
Yeah, so at the beginning we were thinking from what developer community has like the most developers. As I come from the front end background myself, the JavaScript developers were the developers we really would like to reach out to because they're like currently the biggest community. So KadenaJS is actually a way of abstracting away all the difficult parts of our blockchain and let people really focus on building applications with the technology they know. And therefore, we created, for instance, Kadena client, where you can download a smart contract and basically interact with that smart contract via JavaScript. And you don't need to write any pack code for that at all. So you can keep working on your, well, the language a developer knows. And you don't have to learn a new language. Only if you like want to build your own smart contract language at the moment, yeah, then you have to learn Pact. But all the stuff that's already provided for you on the blockchain, that's something you can interact with through Kadena Jazz. So yeah, that kind of it answered that. Is that an answer to your question?
Yeah, it's just a matter of building out the tools. Like you said, you're trying to get Kadena and development wise into as many different hands as possible. So you want to try to make sure that you're focusing on the languages and stuff are the most out there. And JavaScript is by far definitely one of the top ones out there, especially like you said, from a front end development type aspect. JavaScript is huge, absolutely
Yeah.
huge. So people that want to build on this ecosystem, they're going to need those tools to be able to link Kadena and their front ends together. So just out of curiosity, I see that you guys are also opening up a learning experience kind of tutorial thing along with this
Yes.
JS. So does that mean that as you're working along with this, you guys are building, I assume, building a mass of documentation and things like that? Are you open to other people joining in and helping with this? Is this something that's open to the community that they can send in pull requests or whatever it may be to help the development on this, or are you just sticking with your direct team involvement?
No, for sure. And that's what I like also about our community, like the JavaScript community. It's a very open community. And if people want to help out building, that's why we build it. But that's why we build Kadena, yes. And that's why we don't make it closed source, but it's open source. Um, for sure, if people want to contribute to our to our to our GitHub, feel free to open pull requests to add tutorials. And at the moment, our main focus is building out tutorials, creating documentation to make it to have lots of examples for developers how they should build something on Kadena. Because it currently it is becoming a little bit better to build something on Kadena, but in the past it was quite a hassle, to be honest. But I'm very happy the road we've taken, and I think the further we go along in the year, the easier it will get to build something. Um, but for sure, if we can get help from the community, uh, that's what open source is all about. Um, uh, Going back to the learning platform, I think that will be one of the main pillars also to get adoption for people who don't know that much about front-end development, or even people who already are experienced in front-end development but want to learn more about how to build on Kadena, because Web3 development in some sort of ways is different than Web2, and you have to think about different kind of solutions and different kind of uh, you have to code in a different kind of way. Um, and that's what we hope to achieve by creating a learning platform where people can learn about how to build a proper Web3 app. Um, and we're working hard on that part. And I think, well, last week we started our internal distribution of the learning platform. So we're currently testing a lot of stuff. And when we feel more confident to get feedback from the community, we will invite 20 people who registered um, to the tweet I sent out a couple of weeks ago. And from there, we will work together with the community to make that learning platform more mature and more mature. And that's going to be for me and for us at Kadena, it's going to be really awesome as well. Because at that moment, when people start writing code on that platform, we see how people interact with our libraries and stuff like that as well. So we can do so we can improve our libraries based on how people are using it. So it's kind of like sort of a data-driven approach, and that's what I like a lot about that learning platform. So we have we're continuously improving our libraries and our ecosystem.
That's great. You have to have continual growth, and especially like you said, if more people can get involved, it'll just make the growth go a little bit better. And the many hands make lighter work is definitely the saying. So hopefully, anyone listening that wants to hopefully help with the development of this and has experience with it, just simple writing of documents, writing of simple little things can really go a long way when it comes to providing use cases and providing documentation. It's a very important thing, and it is one of the things that the community for a while has been saying that Kadena lacks on is the documentation and things like that. So it's really great to see that you guys are focusing more on trying to get that stuff up to speed and making sure that as you build things along the way, you're also building the documentation that goes along with it. So that's really excellent to hear. And this learning experience for people, the tutorials program, I was reading over a little bit more about that, and it's going to be kind of a reward-based system. So it incentivizes people to even get even more involved and really help out the community, because that's one thing about the Kadena community is that everyone's kind of the real people who are really into the community are very much, we're all for one and one for all kind of mentality where we can all help each other. We can all learn from each other. And what's good for one is also good for everyone else. So that's really great to hear. Now, one of the things that was recently released that you guys have been talking about too, because you have being the lead development lead, you're overseeing many, many projects at once, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So,
Too many at the moment.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So let's just kind of talk a little bit about a couple more namespaces. There's been a little bit of talk and confusion a little bit about the namespaces and what exactly it entails. A lot of people assumed when they heard namespaces that meant like ENS type addresses and things like that. But if people actually go and read more documentation, you can see that that's kind of more of just this is a starting stone for that in the future. Can you describe a little bit about namespaces,
Yeah.
how it works, and where you see it going?
Yeah. So previously, getting a namespace was kind of centralized because people had to apply, well, at Kadena for having a namespace, which gave us a lot of work, but also it was very centralized, and that's of course not something we stand for as a blockchain company. So having these namespaces, people can just start creating their own namespaces in a decentralized way. And I think the Pact Core team really did an awesome job by solving this. And it's kind of like namespaces also work in different blockchain networks as well. So yeah, really like this solution we're currently going towards, and it gives the power back to the community instead of having that power at Kadena, who gets what namespace.
So these namespaces are kind of like the way of turning a contract or a string of, instead of having a long string of letters and numbers, you have something that's readable and actual words. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that indeed. So that's the current namespace. Well, that was the previous namespace we had. For instance, the coin contract. Well, then no, that's a bad example. But for a company like Cadex or KD Launch or whatever, they had to apply for a namespace, and so they can use, so they can deploy the smart contracts under a certain namespace to start developing on that namespace to call function, etc. But that's something now people can do on their own. So they don't need to ask Kadena for a new namespace, but they can do that themselves.
Great. It's opening up things into a decentralized manner so that, there's no authoritative figure saying you can have a namespace, but you can't have a namespace. It's good to open it up so that anyone can do it. They just have to follow a little tutorial, go through a few extra steps to get it all set up themselves. So it's really, it's all these little things are definitely a movement into the right direction. Even though, the Kadena team itself is kind of a centralized entity, the protocol and the blockchain itself needs to be as decentralized as possible for people to be able to utilize it however they like and however they wish without someone saying, no, you can't do that, or yes, you can do this. So it's really good to see that, you guys are definitely putting that at the forefront and wanting to make sure that people have a safe way to do that. Now, when it comes to these projects that you guys are working on, how do you guys decide what is your prioritizing of the projects? How do you decide what things we should push first, what things we can kind of put on the back burner? Do you go based on community wishes, community talk, or are you more focused on okay, this thing is really close, let's all focus on getting that done? Because I'm sure you probably have multiple teams that are all working on these different projects at once. But of course, you have to prioritize some things over other things. So just out of curiosity, really, I'm sure a lot of people would like to know, what do you feel right now is the top priority of things that you guys are working on at Kadena?
Well, that's a good question because there's a lot that I like at the moment. I think ZK is one of the things I really like, and we're working with all kinds of. We're working towards. No, let me first get back. So when we need to choose for what project is the most important, we look to several things. We look towards the community to see what they want, but also from a business perspective, what do we need as a company to get unique selling point for our blockchain? What do we need as a blockchain company to improve ourselves all the time? Looking at the best projects at the moment, for me are CK, the new GraphQL implementation that Albert is working on, startup projects for developers to get up and going really fast. So at the moment, if you want to build a project on Kadena, you have to set up your template and stuff all by yourself. And now we're working towards a way that with just a simple command line tool, you can just say create Kadena app, and then you can choose what kind of application you want. You want to make it in React, Angular, Vue, whatsoever, and based on that, you will get some sort of a starter pack, and start building from there, where you have the integration with all our Kadena Yes libraries already in there. So make it easier for developers to get up and running real fast is also one of the biggest projects at the moment. One other thing is workshops. I think last 1 month ago we had our first workshop at a developer dev shop, which was really fun, and we learned a lot from that as well. It was it was fun because we were giving that presentation, helping everybody to create an app on Kadena. And while doing the workshop, we found out lots of improvements on our tooling as well, which we fixed right away. And that's what I also see, and that's what we are currently working towards as well. The tools we create, we use them ourselves as well while building our tutorials and building our apps, because that's the only way to see the pain points in your tooling and the way how you can create an app. And of course, we also listen to the community. We even hired some of the developers of the community to see what are their pain points when building stuff, and they then help us out pinpointing where we can improve as a company on developer experience part. And that's really nice. And one of the things that came out of that as well is like the Wallet Connect project, the SSC server to basically stream events to a website. But I think one of the most important things that we need to focus on as a team is user experience and branding of our dev experience. I think currently, at the moment, we're working towards a design system and component library for Kadena, because we want all Kadena developer experience products to become basically an experience, like Disney, for instance. We want to get that Kadena feeling when they build on a blockchain. But that's not the only ZK rollup app for proof of concept where we created. We also created another ZK proof of concept, and that one is not created with Pact, but with WebAssembly. So we're using web technology here, where theoretically a person can create or generate a proof even on your phone, which is really exciting. Don't know if you want your phone to generate that proof because, well, I think it will take a long time, and your phone will probably get really warm. But theoretically, it is possible. And in the end, of course, what will happen is you will run it on the generation of proof. You will run it on your server or whatsoever. But working with this kind of technology is actually really cool, and I see a bright future for this in our blockchain as well. One other thing I was talking about, which is also a pretty exciting project at the moment for me, is the GraphQL implementation that Albert's working on. And that's, I think, really nice to finally have like a unified view of our domain model, and people can actually really easy make calls to a certain backend. So that's a project I really like. We also working on a starter project for developer. So it's just a command line tool to, for instance, create your Kadena app. So you say create Kadena app, and then you can choose if you want to have the Kadena app in React or Angular or Vue or whatever library we will support in the future. But then people can have it like a sort of a starter pack, and they can start really fast by building applications from the or adapt from that point where all the implementations of KadenaES, all the libraries of KadenaES are already included. One thing I also liked a lot was the workshop, which was a really fun one, and we found a lot of implementation improvements for our libraries in those workshops as well. And we're going to do those workshops more and more. Fun fact as well, during those workshops, we found improvements which one of our developers fixed right away. So during the workshops, people actually got new libraries released and an improved developer experience during the workshop, which was a fun thing to see as well. And from that workshop, we also found, we started working on the Wallet Connect integration, creating PRs for that as well. But I think the most exciting thing for me is the branding part of our dev experience. Because currently we're working towards a design system with component libraries as well. For instance, if you want to have a Marmalade app, you have Marmalade React components to just put into your app as like Lego blocks and uh, start building with that. Um, but the reason why we created like a design system is we want to have one unified experience. We want all Kadena developer experience products to become something that generates a Kadena feeling when you start building on a blockchain. For like an Apple or a Disney or whatsoever, when you're working with those products, you get a certain feeling. And Isa is actually working really hard creating these designs, and the dev experience brand at the moment, the insights I got from him, they look really awesome. And it's not just look and feel of how our apps will be looking, but also, for instance, what I tweet about, I think 2 weeks ago, is a coding font, having a way of coding for every Kadena developer, having a standard intro for every app, maybe a tune to open a dev experience app. Um, and UX wise, we are looking into with these components libraries to really make it easy for, like, for instance, my grandmother or my grandfather to use the blockchain technology. Um, and the thing is also, if you create like that component library, accessibility wise, you can create components that support certain accessibility stuff like ARIA, um, stuff like that. So we make our technology available not for just for, but for the everyday user, and that I think is the most important thing at the moment.
By far, that's hugely important. Making, like I always say to people, the things that are going to move forward in blockchain are the things that are turnkey and that anyone can implement. You don't have to be some kind of, crazy developer that knows all these different languages. The easier you can make people for onboarding, the better and faster your adoption is going to happen. So it's really great to hear that you guys have that in mind and want to make sure that Kadena is something that anyone can work with, and if they have something that it's almost plug and play. So it's really great to hear that you guys are focusing on that, moving towards that, and hopefully, like I said, hopefully people can get involved and help work towards this final goal of making sure that everything is just simple. Simplicity is what will win overall. The more complicated you make things, the less people are going to take one look at it. Even some developers that I'm sure have years and years of development might take a look at some of these things and just be like, no, it's not worth my time to try to learn all these new things. But if you make it plug and play, basically, then that's just going to completely drive adoption and everyone wanting to build. Because there's some larger ecosystems don't even have these things in place. So just hearing that you guys are working on this, have this as a key thing that you want to make sure that you bring to the community is absolutely amazing. Now, I know that the development can be sometimes a very long process because you got to develop something, you got to test it, you got to make sure you have all the documentation in store and everything like that. What do you feel? How far do you see things going in, let's say, January 2024? Do you have any kind of like loose timelines on when you want to try to get some of these things implemented and available to the public?
Yeah. So the main thing, what we want to, if you look at 2024, of course, that's a long way ahead. What we just started at Kadena is working with sprints. So we only look forward for like this upcoming sprint, and we have sprints for 3 weeks, and we really actually want to deliver items this upcoming 3 weeks. And after those 3 weeks, we will assess what the community needs more, what the company needs more, and based on that, we will start a new sprint. So we will iteratively, make our ecosystem better and better and better again. Well, at the moment in this sprint, we're working on GraphQL, ZK, But to make, of course, we have a certain roadmap. But if the community wants to have different things, we want to adapt to that. We want to be, we want to have to, I want to be able to adapt and go into a different route, and fulfill those needs of the community, but also from the company perspective. Like CK, for instance, that wasn't on our roadmap um, at the end of last year, until we finally got the implementation working. And now we really want to make haste on that part. So we are, as a team, we are currently working on that part. Um, so that's why we want to iteratively make things better and better. Um, uh, Looking at 2024, my dream would be, of course, mainstream adoption. Um, um, but that will not happen within a year. But that's something we need to work towards. Um, and those will also be one of the use cases we will cover this year. And we're going to work together with some other companies, have some tryouts to see how it all goes. Um, but getting to that stage, for that we first need to fix our core items. Um, and that's what we're working on at the moment with CK, GraphQL, um, our documentation, basically make it easy for developers to start building on a blockchain. Um, and for that, we need innovation, but we also need feedback from the community, what they need. Um, and like I said in the beginning, if you want to help us build or improve our tooling, uh, just get in contact with us on GitHub or pick up an issue that's open. So that would be really nice.
Now, besides putting in GitHub pull requests and things like that, are there any other ways that you suggest the community get involved? I know that you recently went through a Discord reorganization, things like that. Would you find that possibly Discord might be the best place for a developer to jump in, put their 2 cents in, and become involved in trying to further the progress of all of these different amazing projects that you guys have on the go right now?
So Discord can be, of course, can be a good one, and of course we will encourage that as well. Um, uh, but it can go to all kinds of routes. Discord will be our main one, especially because we just revamped our whole Discord environment. Um, but if people just want to create something and build something in GitHub and do a pull request, we're open to that as well. Or get a discussion started at Kadena JS for improvements. We're very open to that as well. I think just one of those two would be really great.
So you heard it, folks. It sounds like they want your involvement. Kadena wants the community to be involved, and they're definitely listening. By what you can tell, they push ZK rollouts, they push these things forward in their development plans to make sure that the community has their say, has their involvement, and gets involved. So if people listening to this, I'm telling you, if you want to make sure that Kadena becomes something that you can utilize for your future and for your products, you should definitely get involved and get into the Discord. So as we move forward with the development process that you guys have, what do you feel is anything that may be holding you back? Do you feel like, I know you have a super strong team, you guys have a lot of really great developers, but is there anything besides just the community putting in pull requests and things like that that people can do to help further this process and get involved? I know a lot of people want to help and want to be part of it. So what else can people do? Obviously, signing up for that learning experience is a definitely good start. The more people we have learning how to use these things and utilize Kadena, the better. But is there any other ways that people can get involved?
Yeah, of course, several things. even if you're not even a developer, going to our docs and make it available in different languages, for instance, help translating items. Currently, we're creating a lot of tutorials, a lot of documentation, but on the sideline, we're also working on a new docs website where we're going to integrate all the content we are currently, well, creating. We will integrate that in our new docs website. So at the moment, we're just gathering as much as documentation as possible. So when we launch a new website, it is filled with all with the proper goodness, so to say. So that's one way of getting involved. Another thing, and that's I think last year I talked to one of the community members, Luzotica, and he told me that one of the things he would like to have as a builder on Kadena is to just talk to the teams to see what we're up to, what we're currently working on, and have sit down with these builders every once in a while. How certain problems need to be addressed. For instance, how we envision our app should look like, how signing should work. And that's stuff we're currently also addressing, where we're looking internally how we can facilitate something like that, or maybe an incentive of the community can come for this, that every 2 weeks we can have like real technical sessions instead of for our technical builders. So those kind of ideas from the community, that's what we'd like to have as well. So yeah, hope that kind of answers your question.
For sure. I know people would probably absolutely love to have bi-weekly, monthly, even like, bi-monthly kind of updates and interactions where it could be even in a Discord chat, because like I know you guys have like your office hours and things hosting in your Discord. Like Will just had one a little like a couple of days ago.
Yep.
So doing those I feel would be really awesome. And I think it just shows that you're listening to the community. You want their input. You want these projects that are building all these infrastructures on top of Kadena to say, hey, this could be improved, or we would really use this kind of technology or something like that to really help, would really benefit not just Kadena, but would benefit you, Randy, directly as the experience lead to know, okay, guys, this people really need this. Let's try to get this figured out. Let's roll out this. And it would just really help everyone all around. So really, like I keep repeating here, people really need to realize that, the Kadena team very much is interested in hearing what the community has to say, but in a respectful and constructive manner, of course, like that's a big thing, making sure that you're both respectful and constructive. But just like, moving forward, there's never, life is a learning experience. Nothing is ever 100% perfect. There's always places to improve absolutely everything. And we have a great chance here with Kadena and with their team and this community to be able to have these discussions with the team members. Like you're not going to be able to talk with, the lead Ethereum devs and the lead Solana devs and things like that. You're just not going to get conversations with them. They're not going to be doing open AMA with you and things like that. So, the team is it's really been great to see, especially over the past like 6 months or so, that you guys are really starting to push for community involvement and getting people's word out there. So I want to really thank you guys for, seeing the importance of that and seeing that, without the community behind you, what's the sense of even making a blockchain, if no one's going to really use it. So
indeed, and that's
very important.
And that's what I think as well as a company, of course. We of course made our mistakes as well, and the most important thing is to keep on improving in what you have, because we're not running a sprint here, we're running a marathon. We want to get to that place where Kadena will be like the blockchain to get to that mainstream adoption. And we have all the items in here. We have ZK, we have safe transfers, we have so many things that so many unique selling points that other blockchains don't have. And that's what I think Kadena makes really is really powerful. And of course, we aren't the choice of doing of creating this team that we built in an agile way is not a choice we made overnight. It's because we want to be flexible. We want to see what the community needs, see what we need from a business side perspective, so we can make adjustments during the year. If stuff don't work out this way, we need to have the ability to quickly adapt and go to a different direction. Um, and that's why we also, I think it's very important to talk to the community, to listen to them. Um, but therefore, we do need to have the community to give their input, start working with our tooling. Um, and that's also one of the reasons why we're going to conferences, for instance. So, like this upcoming year, we also going to go to a lot of JavaScript conferences to talk to the developers that are there, to let them work with our ecosystem, to see where they run into, and that's for me is the most cool thing, to actually talk to the people who are using our products. And like you said, you can talk to like the lead Ethereum developers, stuff like that. I think it's very necessary for leads to talk to the community because, for instance, I can have a certain view of how our tooling should be used, but if the community has a whole different view, then my view doesn't even matter. And that's why our learning platform will become a data-driven platform where we see how people will be using our tooling, and based on how people will use that tooling, we will adapt it towards their needs, not what we think how they should work with our tooling, but how people are actually using our tooling. And that's, I think, the main thing of creating a good user experience or developer experience is you make an experience that everybody can work with.
For sure, yeah. Making sure it's open to all and available to all is by far the key. Now, you mentioned conferences. Let's put out this question that I get from the community every once in a while. When KadenaCon?
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, it's on my list, to be honest. When I started at Kadena, that was one of the first things I mentioned even. At the moment, we first want to check out our tooling and stuff at several JavaScript conferences. So the first one we're going to attend is, I think, Jay's World, which is the largest JavaScript conference at the moment. And we will go there with our whole dev experience team to talk to all the developers out there, to see how they expect our tooling to work and give them an intro into Web3 as well, because a lot of Web2 developers don't know when or how to use Web3 technology. Because I always get the question for why should we use Web3? What's the extra value of Web3? And explaining where they can use Web3 for, I think is very important to lay our vision, send that community our vision of how and when and why you should build something on Web3 technology is very important. So when we have a lot of, because we're also going to work on different kind of talks during the year, and I think when we have a certain curriculum of talks, etc., we can think about a KadenaCon. And for me, it would be really fun if we do this together with the community as well. So we have builders from not only Kadena who are speaking, but from all builders on our blockchain to apply to speak at that conference as well. So yeah.
Yeah, a Kadena convention kind of a year ago or even 6 months ago wasn't really even an option because of the fact that the community has just really grown in the last year. Like a year ago, there wasn't 100 NFT projects, there wasn't multiple dexes, there wasn't multiple NFT marketplaces. So it's really been what was your thoughts on seeing this growth? I know from my perspective, being able to talk to all these projects and follow them, I was blown away by the amount of support and the amount of projects that people want to build. People want to build on Kadena. So, how did you feel when you saw that? Like, for example, our website in like 6 months or so almost doubled in the amount of projects. What was your thoughts being a developer experience lead? You know, being the one behind the scenes developing these tools that these people need. How did you feel when you saw like, oh wow, people are actually things are starting to pick up. People are actually starting to build.
Yeah, it's always, of course, a great feeling that people start building on hopefully the tooling that you're creating. So that's nice to see, and hopefully that growth will keep going and keep going. And I saw some awesome projects, even some real cool games coming out, and it's really awesome to see, basically. So that's why we as dev experience developers get up every morning to see our tooling our tooling is used, um, uh, and hopefully when people use that tooling, they also give us feedback, or maybe help us create even better tooling. Um, so yeah, great feeling.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are building all these things, and it's just great to see people taking the appreciation and actually using them and utilizing them for the future. Now, going forward, you guys, like I said, you have many projects, you have many things going on. What do you feel is something that you feel like the community may be lacking on? Do you feel like like we have so many different NFT projects going right now? What other realms of the Web3 space do you feel should be people should be putting more focus into?
Um, for starters, I would love to get more feedback. And instead of people are just commenting what is bad, people can also uh, step up and help us build or help us make stuff better instead of only complaining. Of course, we're also listening to the complaining, and that's why we are start building ZK and other stuff as well. But I would love to see the community get involved with this as well, because that's why we basically started Kadena to get the community involved. Looking at projects, I would love to see when we get the CK stuff working. I would love to see some ZK apps being developed. Um, but I think the main thing I would love to see is mainstream adoption. So uh, I would love it that for instance, in a couple of years, my grandmother is using an app, um, uh, and using blockchain without knowing they are using blockchain, and that's what would trigger mainstream adoption. And that's what I hope to see this upcoming year. That not only crypto companies start building on Kadena, but also non-crypto companies start adopting Web3. Um, and that's what I would love to see this upcoming year. And that's why we're also going to work together with some companies to, well, get this rolling.
Yeah, it's like you just said, mainstream adoption will happen when people are using some kind of application or a website or something and don't even know that they're using blockchain. Like people send emails, use websites, all that kind of stuff, and you don't have to have an understanding of what HTML is, or how blockchain really works. You just need to know that the app that you're using or the website you're on works, does the things you need it to do, and shows you the things you want to see. So that's definitely going to be the future going forward. And it sounds like you guys are well on your way to making that a possibility. Of course, it's not going to be, coming out tomorrow, all this crazy stuff. Things take time. You have to go through the process, go through the cycles. But it sounds like you definitely have an excellent road plan, a definite vision for the future. And I know I, for one, am super excited to see where you guys take this and all the different things that you guys are working on. It's very exciting. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah, that's what that's what we will keep on doing. Like every 3 weeks, we will try to release something, so the community sees our progress, but also can help us go into the right direction. And I think that will help us as a company a lot, but will help our users as well, because in the end, they will get a great product. And indeed, Rome isn't built in a day. And I always say baby steps, because that will give you the biggest or the nicest product. And that's also how we go forward at the moment. Keep on improving.
That's right. There's nowhere to go but up from here, I feel. There's been, some stifles along the way, but you guys are definitely coming together like Voltron to make something really cool and really big. And I'm guessing I'm going to throw this out there, that within 3 to 5 years, Kadena will be on par with the big dogs like Ethereum, Solana, the ones that you actually hear about on the news, you hear people talk about, but not in the way that you see these aspects right now. It'll be more of, like you said, it'll be a turnkey thing. It'll be a behind the scenes thing. It'll be something that people may not even understand that they're using, but will be super happy that they are, because it's super safe, it's super secure, and it's definitely something built by the people for the people. So I was very excited to talk to you today, Randy. I know that you're a very busy man with your hand in many different pots. So I want to thank you personally for coming on with us today and being our first Kadena Minutes guest. Hopefully we can have more of these in the future. I know I, for sure, in a couple of months, may want to come back around and have another one of these with you, because it's been a very excellent talk. I want to apologize for the technical and audio issues. Twitter can just sometimes be that way. But I think that this has been a very awesome and very, very fruitful conversation, and that it really will show the Kadena community that you guys as a team do care about the community, and that this is why you guys are building these things, is for us, the community. And the more the community gets involved, the better for everyone. So again, thank you, Randy, for coming and telling us all this stuff and keeping us up to date. And I can't wait to follow along where this goes and the development side of the team. You guys are doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And for sure, this is going to be a very exciting year. I will promise you that.
So make sure you guys listening, follow Randy for sure. He tweets out quite often, really awesome stuff, keeping everyone up to date with the development process. And make sure, follow Kadena, follow their main accounts, join their Discord, get involved. If you run a project, if you're part of a project or anything like that, and you feel like there's some things that are lacking or some things that could be improved, get in there, get your voices heard, help out, contribute. And because many hands make lighter work. So let's all really, show the Kadena team that, just because we're this huge community doesn't mean that we can't, all come together and focus on making everything better for everyone. So I want to thank you again, Randy, for coming out today, and everyone for coming and listening. And like I said, hopefully we can do this again really soon, because I've really enjoyed our talk today.
Yes, I hope so as well. Have a good one.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And like I said, make sure you follow Kadena, follow Randy, get involved, join the Discord, do everything, and join us again for another Kadena Minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also ensure to follow us on all our social media from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter to ensure to keep up to date on everything KDA related. You can find all the links in the description below. Take care.